You know, there's something about driving alone late at night. The world goes quiet, the road stretches out into darkness, and every little sound, every shadow seems magnified. It's the perfect time for your mind to play tricks on you. Or maybe it's when your mind finally sees what's really there. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was driving home after a ridiculously long day at work. One of those days where you feel like you've run a marathon. The road was completely empty, just me and the hum of the engine. The night felt heavy, wrapping around my car like a thick, dark blanket. It was that kind of deep silence that's almost loud. Out of habit, I glanced up at my rearview mirror. Just a quick check, and that's when my heart stopped. There was someone in my back seat, a figure, just sitting there. My first thought was, no, I'm just tired. My eyes are playing tricks on me. It's a shadow, a weird reflection from the streetlights, flickering through the trees overhead. It had to be. I blinked hard, focusing back on the road, telling myself to calm down, but the feeling wouldn't go away. That prickly sensation on the back of your neck that says you're being watched. I waited a few seconds, my breath held tight in my chest. Then I dared to look again. Slowly, I lifted my eyes back to the mirror. The figure was still there, but this time, it was clearer. The vague shape had resolved into a face. A pale face, with eyes that seemed to catch the faint light from the dashboard. And it was looking right at me. A wave of pure, cold dread washed over me. It started in my stomach and spread through my entire body, making my fingers tingle. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. My heart started hammering against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat in the otherwise silent car. I tried to reason with myself. This isn't real. It's just my imagination running wild after a stressful day. I'm exhausted. That's all it is. But every time I risked a glance, the image became more solid, more undeniable. The face was closer now, its features more distinct. I could see the hollows of its cheeks, the dark pools of its eyes. It never moved, never made a sound. It just watched. The silence was the worst part. The complete and utter lack of sound from the back seat. No breathing, no shifting weight, just a silent, terrifying presence. My mind was racing. What do I do? Do I speed up? Do I slam on the brakes? Do I scream? Every horror movie I'd ever seen flashed through my head, and none of the options seemed good. My foot was getting heavy on the gas pedal. The speedometer needle was creeping up. 60, 70, 80. The trees on the side of the road blurred into a dark green smear. I just wanted to get home, to burst through my front door and be surrounded by light and safety. But the feeling of being watched was suffocating. I couldn't breathe. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. In a moment of pure panic, I swerved and pulled over abruptly onto the shoulder of the road. The tires screeched on the gravel, the car lurching to a halt. My heart was pounding so loudly I was sure it would drown out any whisper from that silent passenger. For a moment, I just sat there, frozen, staring at the empty road ahead. Then, taking a deep, shaky breath, I turned around. I forced my head to swivel, my eyes darting to the back seat, ready to confront whatever was there. It was empty, completely empty. Just the worn fabric of the seats, the seatbelts hanging limp. There was no one there. Relief washed over me so intensely it made me feel dizzy. It was my imagination. I laughed, a short, hysterical sound that sounded alien in the quiet car. I was just tired. So tired, but then I saw it. The rear passenger side window. It was fogged over, a patch of condensation, right at head level. A perfect misty oval on the cold glass. And in the center of the fog, I could see the faint, ghostly outline of a face. As if someone had been pressing their nose and forehead right up against the window, breathing out into the cold night air. Breath that wasn't mine. Every hair on my body stood on end. The relief vanished, replaced by a terror that was 1,000 times worse. Because this was proof. This was real. I wasn't alone. My hand fumbled for the door handle. I practically fell out of the car, stumbling onto the gravel shoulder. I stood there, gasping for the cold night air, my eyes locked on that fogged-up window. The night was still and silent. Too silent. No crickets, no rustling leaves. No footsteps running away, no sound of another car door closing. Just the heavy, oppressive silence. And that misty breath on the glass, a ghostly signature left behind. Evidence that I hadn't been alone, even if the seat was now empty. I stood there for what felt like an eternity, my mind refusing to process what I had seen. I wanted to run, to just abandon the car and sprint down the dark road. But where would I go? I was in the middle of nowhere. Trembling, I forced myself to walk around the car, checking the locks, peering into the darkness around me. Nothing. Getting back into that car was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. I locked the doors, the click of the locks echoing loudly in the stillness. I started the engine and pulled back onto the road, my eyes glued to the rearview mirror. The fog on the window was slowly fading, but the eerie feeling never left me. It clung to me, a cold shroud of fear. For the rest of the drive home, I didn't dare look in the mirror for more than a split second at a time. But every time I did, I thought I saw it, a flicker in the shadows. The pale glint of eyes watching me from the corner of the back seat. Sometimes closer, sometimes further away, a silent phantom along for the ride. When I finally pulled into my driveway, I didn't even turn the car off. I just threw it in park, yanked the keys out, and sprinted for my front door. I didn't look back. The next few days were a blur of anxiety. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that pale face in my mirror. I started taking a different, longer route home from work, just to avoid that stretch of road. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being haunted. A week later, curiosity got the better of my fear. I had to know. I started looking up local history, news archives, anything I could find about that specific road. It took some digging, but I eventually found it. An old news article about a tragic car accident. Years ago, a car had crashed late one night, not far from where I'd pulled over. A young man, a passenger in the backseat, had died on impact. The article mentioned that he was on his way home. Local legend, the kind whispered in small towns, said that his spirit never left the road. They say that on quiet nights, if you're driving alone, you have to be careful. If you look in your mirrors, you might just see his face. Still trapped. Still searching for a ride that will finally take him home. From that night on, I made a new rule for myself. I never drive alone after midnight. Because some passengers don't get out at their destination, and some rides, they never really end. So next time you're on a lonely road in the dead of night and you get that strange feeling you're being watched, maybe don't look in the rearview mirror. You might not like who you see. Thanks for listening, and remember to subscribe for more stories from the dark. Stay safe out there.